Tell me about your podcast, because it sounds like it's an incredible vehicle for you to explore all these stories. Sounds like it's changed your life in a massive way. You've, I think, talked to over 300 people.
Yeah, we've done 340 episodes now, something like that.
Crazy.
So we've been going for a long time.
How long have you been doing it?
7 years, I think, 6 or 7 years. I have to tell people this because you came on the podcast and it was fantastic you did, and I was obviously a big fan of your work, but you came on the show and you did something that nobody has ever done. Okay. After the show that evening, I got a video from you, and you sent me the video and you said, "Hey Spence, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. Here's 4 pieces of advice I've got for you." 4 pieces of advice I have for you. You can throw them in the bin if you want, and you can disregard them and tell me to do one. He said, but they might make a difference. And you went through what those 4 pieces of advice were. And I showed them to all my team. As soon as I read them through, I watched them through, sorry, I sent that video straight to the rest of the team. I said, this is what Brian says, okay, we need to listen to Brian. And so the fact that you took the time to do that meant an awful lot to me. And you followed up with a couple of check-ins with me, then invited me to your studio to see how your studio was laid out. You didn't need to do that. You were extremely kind. I moved heaven and earth to make sure I could be there for that, because that was really important to me. Your kindness and generosity to me knows no bounds. And so I'm very, very grateful to you. And I mean that sincerely, not because there's cameras in this room, but I'm very grateful for who you are and what you've done for me.
Thank you.
The podcast is literally the best thing I've ever done. There's nothing that comes close to it. I love meeting people. I love learning about people's stories. I love learning about people's missions. I love dumbing stuff down for my audience so that they can learn too. And I'm not afraid to be, the thick kid in the class almost that's like, I don't get it. Please explain to me another way. When specialists come in and use fancy words and that I don't get, then I know that some of my audience won't either. But I've also built a network of people. I have connections. I know I can reach out to lots of well-known celebrities that have been on the show and say, hey, can I buy you a coffee, or can I ask a question? And then they'll respond. It's been an absolute joy. Why many more people don't have a podcast, I don't know. I know the stats, 5 million started, 380,000 produced an episode last month. Most people don't go past 7 episodes. They run out of money. And I think every company should have a podcast internally for their staff. Okay, I think that's valuable. I think whatever industry you're in, you should make sure that there's a podcast teaching people about that industry, or hobby or passion, whatever it may be. The truth of how interesting some of this all is true crime podcasts are way up the rankings, in the global podcasting leagues. And I find that really interesting because people are actually interested in things that go wrong in the world. And so that leans in a little bit to my stuff as well. Yeah. But no, I spoke to Lewis Howes. I said, how many episodes did you do before you knew what you were doing? And he went, about 500. He said, I'm not sure I know now. And I remember, I started off with personal development, and then I moved into telling these real stories. And then somebody said to me one day, and I regret this. Somebody said to me one day, I can't listen to your podcast anymore. It upsets me too much. And I was like, oh, I've got to change tact here. But I wish I hadn't. Because that was the stuff that stimulated me the most. I learned the most. And then after that, I started to get involved in understanding the blockchain and crypto, and I think people needed to learn about that in a simple way. So Robert Breedlove, Michael Saylor, Raoul Paul, these Amazing. People were speaking English in a language, a crypto language that was definitely gobbledygook to most. And so they dumbed it down, and it was like, And then I had Da Vinci Jeremy on, and he talked about the history of money, and that was really valuable too. And learning all about this kind of stuff was really kind of...
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith, because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.
Like really thrilling for me because it was this, this whole new asset class that maybe most people didn't know about. And everybody keeps asking, well, what is crypto? How does it work? Even now, have you got Bitcoin? And I've got some TON. Okay, what's TON? No idea, but someone said to buy it, And then on top of that, it's like how the world of AI is developing. It was scary for me because I'm not a techie person. So it was like, I don't really understand what's involved here. It's magic. Let's call it magic. AI is magic and it solves things. And then it was, no, we really need to get to the bottom of this. And, what is it actually? And so I'm on a bit of a journey with that at the moment too.
Okay.
And I hope and I pray that people enjoy what I do, and and I'm sure they don't listen to every episode, but when they're on the way to work in the car or when they're in the gym, that they're listening to me and they're getting something from it, and I'm being valuable to them. And if I am, then great, and if not, then it's the most selfish endeavor in the world, and I'll do it anyway.
And you said at one point you were getting real stories, and then you got some feedback and you kind of moved away from it. Now, have you gone back to where it's real, or it's what you want to talk about and learn about? Is that your North Star now for choosing a guest?
Obviously, as you know, here in Dubai, it's different to London or being in New York. You don't have as many people here, so it's harder. And I don't want to do it online. I want to do it in person. But the great thing about Dubai is that I'm in the fastest growing, most ambitious city in the world. And so there's a fair few people like that. And I like to talk to people that have that hunger and desire inside of them and that fire in their belly, whatever it is that they're trying to pursue.
Right.
And so whether that's someone from here that's just about to go and run 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days, or whether that's someone that's found the secret code to AI about how they could get rid of call centers and they can now make call centers automated around the world, and all this kind of, to me it's a learning experience. And so I don't, and my team get frustrated with me. They're like, Spence, niche. Or as Americans say, niche. Okay, and I'm like, I don't want a niche. I want to learn about what I want to learn about when I want to learn about it.
Fuck the niche.
Yeah. Do you believe the same?
Yeah, I do.
But at the end of the day, Brian, you literally were the person that got me interested in podcasts. You were the first podcast that I listened to, continuously. Okay, you're the podcast person that I could see. I remember the podcast in the kitchen. I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, your scraggly hair and whatnot.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember when what's the crazy guy in Scotland in the castle?
Dan Pena.
Dan Pena. I remember when you were Dan Pena and your fallouts with Dan and your confrontations and your love for each other and the what are you wearing, and then the suits came along. I remember all of that. Amazing. Because it had impact on me, because it felt to me like you were a student in some of these experiences, and I liked the fact that you were willing to be a student. Sometimes people aren't, and you're so willing to be vulnerable. And I think that's really important. And I know you faced all the challenges with the whole David Icke stuff and whatnot. And my wife is a huge fan of your work. She's a huge fan of David Icke. My wife knew you were coming today. I've never seen my wife send me so many messages as she did today. Say hi to Brian. Don't forget. Have a good time. Do your best. Don't want to, all this kind of stuff coming through because she's such a fan.
She's amazing.
But I've watched what you've been through and how everything was taken away from you. And that to me is just like, whoa, that was heavy. And most people on the back of that would have very easily crumbled, okay? But you kept going and you kept going and you kept going as you morph into different versions of yourself, and you start to, it's like you peel back another layer of Brian. And I really like that. It's like, what's wrong with another layer coming back? Why does Brian have to be one-dimensional? Why can't Brian be multi-dimensional? Why can't Brian be passionate about this and that? Why does he have to be passionate about both things at the same time? It's like, for me, maybe because I'm doing a bit of this and I'm following in your heels, that I'm sensitive to that. Yeah. But you're probably one of the most underrated people I know. And that's good and that's bad, okay? It's good because I get to keep you a secret, but it's bad because more people need to see your work.
I appreciate that, Spencer. Really do, a lot, and you know me pretty well. I find that the podcast just amplifies life. It just dials it up, and I'm so impressed that you've gone 300 plus episodes, and I have a soft spot in my heart for anybody who wants to start their own show. And I used to say 10 years ago, I said, podcasting is the fountain of youth. That's what I used to say. And again, like, we didn't really understand what it was back in the early days. I always used to say, like, we don't really know what YouTube is. And it sounded like such a silly thing to say. But I was talking about this entire methodology of humans connecting and the feedback loop and the community we were building. Nobody knew what an influencer was, and nobody knew what this thing was. And Pena used to just yell at me and say, this is worthless, and your London reelers are a bunch of losers, and this isn't a business, and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, now you look back and he was, as usual, completely wrong, and I was completely right. Same with Bitcoin, Dan. But you know, it's incredible how it just dials up everything in life. And it forces, I love still being a student, man. I still have so much to learn. But it forces you to allow other people inside your brain, like on a daily basis, you know, or twice a week or 3 times a week. And it forces you out of your echo chamber, and we're all in our own echo chambers now.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's just this way to just always continue to learn. And it's taken me on this crazy adventure. Same with you, you know, and I can't imagine, I wouldn't have done 1/100th of what I've done without the show. You know, I was a banker in the city of London for almost 10 years. If I would have played that out, I would have kept doing the same goddamn thing, probably be drinking myself to death at this point. I would have the same friends doing the same things. I couldn't have imagined even one of the experiences on London Real. And now I get to do that 10, 20, 30 times a year. It's just incredible. I'm always thinking, like, if that old Brian could ever meet me versus his life, he would be like, what the hell are you talking about? You did what? Then you did what? You're where? What? Like, it would just be this incredible thing. So I'm so grateful to do it. And I always love people when they do it. It's hard to do a podcast, probably because you have to confront your own ego. And you have to look yourself in the eye and come to terms with who you are and who you want to be. You got to show up every day. You got to push yourself through the hard times. You know, my first 5 years of podcasting was shocking. You know, I mean, shocking. I would look in the mirror and be like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is like going nowhere. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching this. It's not making a single dollar. Why are you doing this? Let's keep going." And it was just this whole process.
How did you, that's really interesting, because I went through those questions as well. I'm like, what am I doing this for? How do I make money out of this? Because it wasn't so much I need to make money because I want to be profitable. It's like, I need to make money to pay all these people that I've got that are editing and filming and all this kind of stuff.
Rent.
And renting. And it's like, to me, it was like, how am I going to make money out of this? And it was people that I knew that were ahead of me that kept going, and I couldn't see how they were making money. That I thought there's something I don't know that they know.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside, I view, is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the investment club.